Zombies. Whether they're rampaging through cities in movies like World War Z or lurking around corners in games like The Walking Dead, are sure to send shivers down anyone's spine. Real life, though? No thanks. No one wants to face them. Well, sorry to burst your bubble, but real life has zombies. And not just humans, but animals too can turn into these terrifying creatures. From humans to spiders and even ants, the reality of zombies is far more unsettling than any movie or game has ever depicted. And guess what? We've got the proof. Solid, undeniable evidence that zombies aren't just a product of fiction, but a chilling part of our natural world. Check out our list of 5 real-life cases of zombies that will freak you out. These real-life cases show that the concept of zombification is present already among us in the most horrifying ways. Zombies are real, and we're here to show you just how alarmingly true that is. First up, let's talk about human zombies. Okay, let's take it back to the 1990s in Haiti. This is where our story begins, and it's one that got a lot of people talking and researching. So what happened was pretty wild. There was a woman about 30 years old who got really sick and everyone thought she died. But 3 years later, people saw her walking around as if she never died. You can imagine how freaked out her family and friends were. Then there's another story about a young guy, 18 years old, who was also thought to have died. But after some time, he shows up out of nowhere at a cockfight. Imagine the surprise on everyone's faces. These stories caught the attention of 2 researchers, Dr. Siobhan Duyon and Professor Roland Littlewood. They were super interested in finding out if the tales about Haitian zombies were true. So they did their homework, and in 1997, they shared what they found. Turns out, there wasn't any magic or spells involved. The reasons behind these zombie sightings were actually medical. The woman had a condition called catatonic schizophrenia, which made her seem like she was in a daze all the time. The young man had brain damage and epilepsy, and he also had trouble learning things. These health issues made him act out in ways that made people think they were zombies. They also have this rare thing called Cotard syndrome, where people believe they're dead or decaying. It's pretty rare, but really spooky. Some people with this syndrome have been reported to feel like they're not alive and even smell like they're decaying. So, what do we make of all this? Are zombies real? Or are these just stories that show how we see things we don't understand? In Haiti, these stories blur the line between what's real and what's myth. All right, next case is something like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's all real. This one's about zombie ants. Yes, you heard that right. Ants that turn into zombies. There's this group of fungi called Ophiocordyceps, and scientists have found over 200 different types of them. Now, fungi can be pretty weird and sometimes dangerous because a lot of them are toxic. But Ophiocordyceps, it's on a whole other level of scary. So here's the deal. These fungi have a sneaky way of taking over insects. They release spores that infect the insects. Once an insect gets infected, the fungus starts to mess with its brain. It literally changes how the insect acts, so all the fungus can spread its spores even further. Ophiocordyceps doesn't stop there. It grows inside and out of the insect's body until the insect dies. One particular type, called Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, has a thing for carpenter ants. These ants live in North America, and they're the perfect hosts for this creepy fungus. When carpenter ants get infected, they turn into what you'd call zombies. The fungus makes them climb up to the top of plants and then forces them to stay there until they die. Being up high is perfect for the fungus because it can easily spread its spores from there. Researchers at Penn State University did some digging into this and found out that the fungus takes over the ants' muscles. It controls them so precisely, making them move wherever it wants. David Hughes, a professor there, said that when they looked closely, they found that most of the cells in these ants were actual fungal cells. It's like these zombie ants were walking around in a fungus costume. David Hughes put it this way: in essence, these manipulated animals were a fungus in ants' clothing. Next real-life case of zombie that will astonish you is zombie spiders. So a few years ago, Philip Fernandez Fournier, a zoologist from the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada, along with his team, stumbled upon something straight up chilling in the Ecuadorian Amazon. They discovered a species of parasitic wasps that can take over small social spiders in a way that's never been seen before. These spiders, known as Anolosomus eximius, are pretty friendly by spider standards. They like to hang out in groups and usually don't wander far from their home. But Fernandez Fournier and his team noticed that some of these spiders, after getting infected by Zatapoda larvae, started acting all sorts of strange. They left their buddies behind and set up shop in remote spots, spinning those cocoon-like webs that were far different from their usual homes. When the researchers took a closer look inside these makeshift cocoons, they found the Zatapoda larvae cozying up inside. It turns out, the wasps lay their eggs right on the spiders. Once the eggs hatch, the wasp larva gets to work, munching on the spider and slowly taking over its body and mind. By the time the larva is fully in charge, it turns the spider into something out of a zombie flick. The spider ditches its colony, spins a new nest for the larvae, and then, in a final act of surrender, becomes the larvae's last meal. Fernandez Fournier was blown away by the complexity of this manipulation. He's seen wasps boss around spiders before, but nothing like this. The wasp turns the spider into a puppet, forcing it to do things that are totally out of character and super risky. This behavior modification is so hardcore, Fernandez Fournier said, the wasp completely hijacks the spider's behavior and brain, making it do something it would never normally do, like abandoning its nest and creating a completely different kind of web. That's a big deal for these little spiders. Nature sure has its dark side, doesn't it? Next is a story from Eastern Canada that sounds like it's out of a science fiction movie, but it's all real. This time, it's about zombie ladybugs. Yes, you read that right. Ladybugs turned into zombies. Scientists from Université de Montréal have uncovered how these adorable spotted insects can become the unwilling puppets of a sneaky little wasp named Diocampus coccinelle. Here's the creepy part. The wasp lays an egg inside of the ladybug's body and, to make things even more bizarre, it injects a virus that hijacks the ladybug's brain. As the egg hatches, the larvae starts munching on the ladybug from the inside, but it doesn't kill the ladybug. Instead, after the larvae is done feeding and leaves the ladybug's body to continue its transformation into an adult wasp, the ladybug turns into a zombie bodyguard, protecting the very creature that just used it as a living buffet. After all this, being turned into a zombie guardian for a wasp larva, many of these ladybugs manage to snap out of their zombified state. They shake off the whole nightmarish experience and go back to their normal ladybug lives, as if being a zombie was just a brief hiccup in their day. Next on number 5, we have something even more fascinating and horrible. Reanimator. You see, the idea of bringing the dead back to life has not only captivated writers and filmmakers, but scientists as well. While the notion of reanimating humans remains firmly in the domain of fiction, the revival of other organisms is very much a reality. In 2014, a team from the Centre National de Recherche Scientifique at Aix-Marseille University in France made a startling discovery in the Siberian permafrost. They unearthed a giant virus, dormant for 30,000 years, and named it Pithovirus sibericum. Giant viruses are so called because they're larger than typical viruses, big enough to be seen under a normal microscope. But P. sibericum isn't just notable for its size. It's a DNA virus packed with genes, around 500 of them, which is a stark contrast to other DNA viruses like HIV, which contains about 12 genes. The researchers who discovered P. sibericum pointed out that its size and the sheer amount of DNA it carries could make it particularly menacing. This virus has the tenacity to survive for incredibly long periods. Jean-Michel Clavier and Chantal Abergel, two of the virus's discoverers, explained to National Geographic that giant viruses are exceptionally resilient. They thrive in special environments like the deep ocean or permafrost, which are cold, devoid of oxygen, and dark, helping to preserve these viral time capsules. Upon reanimation, P. Sibiricum only targeted amoebas, simple single-celled organisms. Clavier and Abergel cautioned that similar giant viruses might be lurking in the permafrost, posing potential risks to humans. The concern is that with global warming and human activities like mining and drilling, we're digging through ancient layers that haven't been touched in millions of years. If other viable viruses are hidden there, it could spell disaster and can really start a World War Z-like scenario. So what do you think of these cases of zombies? Let us know in the comments section. And if you want a video on something particular, then drop your idea in the comments section, and we'll make sure to cover it in the next video. Until then, cheers!